I'm Nichole.
And I'm Giu.
And this is Nichole and Giu Live, our podcast where we talk about things we love, things we hate, and things we love to hate. And you know what/who I love? It's David Bowie. And you know who else loves David Bowie? Cherie Currie. And who is Cherie Currie, are you asking? Cherie Currie was the original singer of the Runaways, and that is the movie that we are covering today. The Runaways, a biopic about the band from the early 70s.
I couldn't believe that I hadn't heard of Cherie Currie before this, because obviously everyone has heard Cherry Bomb, but I just never got into looking up the actual band members or anything.
Yeah, no, I mean, literally everybody has heard that song. I guess I never thought about it. I really, really wanted to watch this movie. This movie, actually, we couldn't find any versions of it with audio description literally anywhere because it came out in 2010, which seems like it's before people thought about that. But I had seen it a long time ago in high school, and I really, really wanted to watch it. I knew that Kristen Stewart had a really good performance in this movie, so I was like, let's do this. So we decided to make an exception and watch this one this time, and I had so much fun. I just remembered how good I thought it was back in high school when it came out, and I wasn't disappointed. It was still very, very fun.
I thought it was fun too. It was very rock and roll. I think that Kristen Stewart and Dakota Fanning at the time were choices that not a lot of people agreed with, because Dakota Fanning was in Charlotte's Web and Kristen Stewart was obviously Bella. So people were like, what the fuck are these girls doing in this rock and roll movie?
Yeah, and I forgot that Dakota Fanning was in Charlotte's Web. Like, I was thinking of her in, oh my gosh, it was like a horse movie from the very early 2000s that I have very distinct memories of her as a child in. I think it was like Flicka or Felicity or something. I remember too being like, yeah, little sweet innocent Dakota Fanning, it's going to be kind of weird, but it's so rock and roll. It looks so much fun. I remember like literally seeing it as a teenager. I was like, why isn't shit fun like this anymore? Like I just said, it came out in 2010, which is smack dab in the middle of the Twilight movies coming out. Obviously, I had seen it before, and I remember when I saw it, but I just didn't really like connect that it was literally during the Twilight Saga movies coming out. And I just think that's really interesting.
I think they both felt like they had something to prove, because I think Dakota Fanning was like, I'm an adult, take me seriously. And Kristen Stewart was like, I can actually act, take me seriously. And I think we all, after watching this, were paying attention.
Oh yeah, no, I remember when I saw this, I really wasn't expecting much from her, honestly, at all. And this was kind of maybe my first glimpse at the fact that Kristen Stewart is actually a fantastic actress. I guess at the time I was like, well, she can play Joan Jett, because like Joan Jett's kind of weird and not very charming. Like she's got just like an odd sort of a personality. And so I thought that was helping her in her acting ability. And I have changed my tune now. Now, obviously, I know that she's amazing, like her portrayal of Princess Diana, but I digress.
The film opens with Cherie Currie and her sister Marie. They're in a bathroom, and I think Cherie just had her first period and they switch underwears.
Is it No, it is Cherie. Cherie gets it, and then they switch underwear. Yeah. And then Marie's not wearing any underwear, which she comments on to her boyfriend later.
Yeah, her boyfriend is a creep, and then he never comes back. So I feel like he's very irrelevant in this scene almost. I think that this entire scene was only there to punctuate that they are children.
They're children. Cherie is the younger sister, and Marie is the older sister. And so I think that this whole kind of intro scene is kind of sort of trying to set up for you that Cherie has always kind of, she's the little sister. She doesn't have a boyfriend. She's not like sexy like her older sister. Like everybody kind of comments throughout the beginning of the movie and even like through the middle of the movie that Marie is actually the better looking one, even though Cherie is the one that goes on to be famous.
I read online too that they're allegedly identical twins.
I thought that they were twins, but my boyfriend who I was watching the movie with was like, I really don't know. I thought one of them, they were like different ages, but I got the impression that they were twins. So I'm glad that I was right.
Yeah, you were right. I didn't get the impression from the movie. In the movie, I got the impression that Marie was older, so I don't blame your boyfriend for thinking that, but yeah, apparently they're twins. So,
Okay. Well, I thought that they were twins. I think it makes a little more sense if they're twins.
like Nichole mentioned earlier, Cherie's obsessed with David Bowie, and she gets a scene of her chopping off all her hair to have some cool David Bowie hair, and I called it her pre-shower David Bowie makeup. If you go on TikTok, you'll probably know what that is. So she did a good job. But then she goes on stage and lip sings a David Bowie song, and everyone boos her.
Yeah, well, it's like the girls are cheering for her, but the boys are all booing and throwing things at her. And she's doing like a weird slow motion, like sexy dance almost. Like it's very David Bowie. Like it very much is reminiscent of him in that era, like kind of the psychedelic sort of era. Especially all the boys are like booing and like throwing shit at her. Like nobody thinks she's doing a very good job. And then I do love that she uses this like later in the movie when someone's like, "Can you sing?" She's like, "Yeah, I won a contest lip singing to David Bowie." I'm like, "That's not the same as singing, Cherie, but that's okay."
I loved that because I'm like, yeah, best lies are based in truth, so it's almost true. It's not exactly correct.
But it was cute. Yeah, and she does a really good job, and also you can kinda see that she's got stage presence.
That's true. She did seem pretty comfortable. Then after she is at home with a birthday cake and her dad calls her and is like, "I can't come to your birthday."
Oh my gosh, this part is really sad because yeah, the dad is like, "I'm working late, kitten, like, put the other kitten on the phone," and, like, Marie's out with her boyfriend, so she doesn't come to the phone. But you can tell that even though he's telling Cherie that he, like, has to work late, you can tell he's drunk. Like, you can just hear it in his voice.
Oh yeah, this was really sad, and you can just see already that Cherie's parents kinda suck, so
Yeah.
switching to Joan Jett, we get a scene of her dumping a pile of coins, like a gigantic mega pile of coins to buy her first leather jacket, which was really fun.
Oh my gosh, I love this scene. She looks so cool here. She like walks into this store and dumps all this change out on the table. Cause I think like the shop girl was like, "Oh, like you can go over there where the dresses are. Like that's where you should go." And she just like walks up and dumps out this massive pile of coins. It's like, I want what he's wearing. Like gesturing to like the guy standing there.
Yeah, Kristen Stewart did a good job. I think she kind of carries herself a bit more masculine leaning anyway, so I think she really leaned into that and really pulled off a good Joan Jett.
God, she does such a good job as Joan Jett. Like, honestly, it's, like, immaculate. And I think that Joan Jett actually did work on this movie as a producer, so I'm sure that she worked with Kristen to kind of, like, help her get the attitude down, but, oh my god, is Kristen Stewart cool in this movie. Like, she is so fucking cool.
That must be really convenient to play a person that exists in the world, and then not only did they actually exist and were a human being, they're there on set with you to help direct you.
Yeah, I would think so, and also it's just you can watch so many, like, interviews and, like, video clips of both these people, of both Cherie Currie and Joan Jett, so I think that they both had, like, that going for them, so they do both do even Dakota Fanning does a fantastic job portraying Cherie Currie, and I honestly don't know as much about Cherie Currie as I do about Joan Jett, just because Joan Jett kind of went on to do like the Black Hearts and like a few other things, and she's kind of more in pop culture. But I think that Dakota Fanning did a great job with her portrayal as well.
Yeah, and I saw an interview with Kristen Stewart where she was saying you can see a million pictures and watch a million videos, but it's not the same as having the person there, and that really helped her performance. So that's really cool.
That's awesome. Man, I want to meet Joan Jett.
She's still alive. You could try.
I could try. I really like I could. my boyfriend was saying that, he thinks that she lives in Nashville. Like, we could just go to
And
Nashville.
just drive to Nashville. Maybe we'll run into her somewhere.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
Anything is possible. Then we get a scene of Joan learning to play guitar. At the beginning of the movie, she doesn't know how to play, but she's taking a lesson, and the instructor tells her girls don't play electric guitars, which obviously is establishing that this world is very sexist, but also is a little strange because she plays electric guitar for the first a half of the lesson before he says anything, and then she plugs it into an amp and just starts losing her mind and going ham.
Strumming, it's not good, but she's just like, "Fuck you, man. I play an electric guitar." She literally walks into the lesson and says that she wants to play like Chuck Berry. And he's like, "We're gonna play on top of Old Smoky. Girls don't play electric guitars." And she's just like, "Fuck you, man. I'm gonna be a rock star."
Speaking of weird sexist people, the next scene is of Joan in a club.
Everybody in this movie, you're saying? Every single person? Okay, let's just maybe get it out of the way. There's a lot of this movie that is, like, really deeply problematic for a 2024 audience, but I think that that's just kinda the shit that was happening in the '70s. So
A lot of the problematic stuff is based on reality. It's not entirely made up just to make a shocking movie.
no, it's not. None of it's fictional. I think, like, a lot of this movie is, like, very, like, based in what was kind of really happening back then is wild. I was not alive during this era, but and of course, looking at it, like, now, looking back, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it looks so fun. Oh my god." It probably would have been hell to actually live through, especially all the sexism and stuff, but a lot of the aspects of, like, the rock and roll culture then do look so fun to me.
Yeah, Joan said in an interview that they embellished things, but she said it wasn't inaccurate.
It doesn't seem inaccurate.
So speaking of the sexism, in the next scene we meet Kim Fowley, who eventually becomes their manager, and Joan meets him in a club and she pitches the idea for an all-girl rock band.
Yeah, she just walks up to him and she's like, "Oh, you're Kim Fowley. You're, like, awesome." And he's just like, "Let me guess, you have a band and I'm the luckiest dog fucker in outer space because I get to sign you." And I just, like, I have such a clear memory of that from when I was a teenager. I just thought it was really funny. And then Kristen's like, "Yeah, well, like, I wanna start an all-girl rock band." And then Kim Fowley just kinda, like, looks at her and he's like, "You know, maybe I am the luckiest dog fucker in outer space."
And then he introduces her to Sandy right there.
She's a drummer.
I did read that apparently the all-girl rock band was actually Fowley's idea, but I think I like this version better.
Oh, I didn't read that anywhere. That's interesting. You'll have to maybe send me what you saw that on. But I'm not surprised maybe that it was his idea because he seems like kinda a pig, but a good music producer. But I agree, I like the idea of Joan having the idea better. Like, I think it works better for the movie.
Yeah, he hired an employee basically to recruit for this all-girl rock band, and then that's how Joan and Sandy got recruited. So Joan and Sandy begin practicing together, and then they start looking for a lead singer, and in that last scene, Cherie is in the club with them, but it's not relevant. It's just like, hey, they're kind of in the same spaces, and later they end up approaching her at the club because they like her look, and they're like, "Hey, come audition."
Like, "We like your look. You ever thought about singing?" And this is the part where she says, "Yes, I just won a talent competition, lip syncing to David Bowie." And you're like, "Cherie, that's not exactly the same thing, but she does look really cool, so she's gonna go and, maybe be a rock star."
Yeah, I liked it because 'cause I'm like, "Yeah, if you, like, want the thing, you gotta be like, 'Yeah,' and be confident," and she does, and I thought that that was really cool.
Yeah, yeah, you gotta embellish.
Cherie goes to the audition, and I think she's trying to, like, be very rock and roll because she tries to smoke a cigarette and lights it backwards and then immediately gives up, and that really struck me funny.
Oh, that one made me laugh too, and then, yeah, and she thinks she's gonna go sing. She puts on a Peggy Lee album and starts kinda practicing to sing "Fever" by Peggy Lee, and then she goes and she tries to, like, say that's what she's gonna sing for her audition, and they're just like, "What?" That's not the kind of music we play. Like, Sandy, the drummer girl, is actually like my mom listens to Peggy Lee.
They did tell her, Fowley specifically told her, "Sing anything," so that's definitely not her fault, though.
Yeah.
So she waits outside, and they write "cherry bomb" in 3 seconds while she's waiting outside. I wonder how true that part is.
I mean, not like Cherry Bomb is like a lyrical masterpiece or anything, but yeah, I kind of thought that too. It's like, did they really just sort of like pluck that out in like 5 minutes? It seems a little like maybe that wasn't exactly the way it happened, but I mean, it works well. It works well for the movie, and it is like such a perfect song for her. And it's also a little my boyfriend kind of, after we finished watching this movie, he's like, "I don't know how I feel about the song Cherry Bomb now because I didn't really realize that it was sung by a 15-year-old." And I'm like, "You didn't realize that, like, the cherry part of Cherry Bomb was supposed to be she's cherry? Like, she's a virgin?"
Something I think that they didn't explain well enough in the movie too, like, obviously, we get the vibe that they're all teenagers, but they're all 15, 16. I feel like they really focus on the fact that Cherie is 15 and don't really discuss anyone else's age. So if you told me that any of the other ones were, like, 17, 18, 19, like, I would be like, "Okay, I believe you because I'm watching a movie." And I'm not super familiar with the group, like I said, but I think it probably should have been established that not only is Cherie really young, they're all really young.
Yeah. They're all is Joan even 16? I think she might be 15 too when they all kind of start out. I think, like, Cherie and Joan are the same age almost.
Yeah, I'm not sure, I just know they're all 15, 16.
They're all babies. Like, oh my gosh, this kind of stuff happening today, like, the police would be there in point 0.5 seconds.
Yeah, obviously teenagers do crazy things all the time, but for it to be so widely publicized just would not happen today, and I think it was controversial back then, but it was still, like, allowed to exist.
Yeah. It was controversial for sure, but I don't think that it was, like, looked at the same because it wasn't really, like, in the zeitgeist of discussion, like, that children should be allowed to be children and, like, the early sexualization of teenagers and how that is wrong and problematic and all of that stuff. That really wasn't being discussed in the '70s, like, almost at all.
So the band members bond by drinking under the Hollywood sign, which I thought was a fun scene. Like, I wanna do that, especially if I was a teenager, I would've thought that that was so cool.
I think that this movie inspired me to basically do that, with my parents' alcohol when I was
Oh,
very
no.
young, not to just, like, completely out myself, but when Sandy is saying, like, "Oh, it's the kitchen sink," I call it the kitchen sink because it's just a little bit out of all the different liquor bottles, like, just enough so that they won't notice. I did that, and I was like, "Why did I do that?" It's a bad idea, guys, like, you're not really supposed to mix liquors like that. It was not a pleasant experience, but I think this movie might have been what gave me the idea.
My mom didn't drink, so wasn't even an option for me. There was no alcohols, no sodies. That wasn't in the house, we had water.
My parents didn't really drink, honestly, very, very rarely, but my dad did have, like, a liquor cabinet.
Yeah, that just wasn't even in the realm of existence in my house. I am addicted to milk now, though.
Uh,
So then Cherie's parents tell her that they're moving to Indonesia, and obviously she's pissed because she just joined a cool rock and roll band.
it's just her mom. It's her mom that's moving to Indonesia because her mom and dad are split up. So her mom is, like, marrying an Indonesian guy.
Oh, okay. They were both in the scene. It sounded like she wanted the kids to go, and they were like, "No."
Yeah, I their parents are definitely split up though, because later in the movie, Marie is, like, taking care of the dad and things while Cherie is off doing her Rockstar Japan tour. and Marie is home taking care of the dad, and the mom is gone. Like, the mom, like, this is the point at which the mom pieces out of the movie, moves to Indonesia with her new husband, and we never see her again.
Yeah, she got the hell out of there. The band keeps practicing, and Fowley is trying to get them to be tough and be prepared for the crazy audience. And he like hires these boys to like come in and like throw trash at them while they're performing. So when they are in the next scene performing, they're like throwing shit back at the audience and stuff. So I think they're trying to just show that this guy's strange, but maybe there's a method to his madness.
Yeah, because he's like, you aren't gonna be playing in social clubs for like nice, polite audiences. You're gonna be playing in rock clubs where people want to fuck and fight and throw alcohol at you. And so, yeah, he's got like boys in there like chucking stuff at them, like they throw dog shit at the drummer girl at one point. Like it's all pretty ridiculous. But then like Giu just said, when they are playing in the clubs, they're like really giving it back. Like I think even Kristen Stewart, like uses her guitar to like bounce a beer bottle back at somebody when they threw it at her. And she was like very proud of herself.
Yeah, because not only did she bounce it back, it, like, hit them in the head.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. So they play their gig, and it turns out it's a free gig, and Joan's a little pissed, but it gets broken up by the cops, and they all grab their guitars and get the hell out of there.
Man, just the debauchery. 15, 16-year-olds, at least like where we live, maybe in some cities this is real, but like I don't really know because at no point in my life am I just like was I just running around like doing whatever. Like I don't know if it's a 70s thing or just a pasto thing or a city thing
California thing.
or a California thing that I'm just not familiar with, but I'm just like, why are these teenagers having so much fun?
This is the first time Lita and Robin are introduced by name, and then they aren't really talked about, but they list all the band members, and I didn't want to completely exclude them.
Yeah, it's kind of my boyfriend did point out at the end that even though this is a biopic about the Runaways, that's the title of the movie, really this movie is about Joan Jett and Cherie Currie, and you don't really get a lot of the other band members.
Yeah, I kinda wish you did, though. I understand that there's only
Same.
so much time in a movie, but really almost nothing's included, like, a smidge is included about Sandy, but I kind of would have liked more about the relationships between all of the girls instead of just Joan Jett and Cherie Currie.
Yeah, and he has such, like, fun little introductions for all of them at some point, and I forget exactly what they all are, but I think he says about Sandy, he's like, "Miss California with a joint in her mouth and a chip on her shoulder," and I was like, "She does sound cool," like, I wish she was more in the movie.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think that they gave them all these cute little, very there was a lot of personality in the descriptions, and then we'd see exactly 0 of it, so so then they start going on tour, right? Because they go to the motel now, and they're staying there, and they're playing in the pool.
Yeah, this is the part where they go on, like, a little local tour almost. This is their tour in America. Stuff is taking off for them, kind of like not I wouldn't say immediately, they're putting in work, they're putting in their dues. You actually progressively hear them getting better at their music the entire movie, which I also really enjoyed. Like, it starts out very rough when they're practicing, and then it just gets better and better as it goes. And I thought that was, like, a good detail to make sure to exemplify to the audience, and I don't I mean, it's like you don't really get a good, I guess, sense of time because it does kind of seem like they just kind of immediately take off.
That's true. It probably did happen very fast, though, because they broke up really quickly, or I guess not I don't know how fast they broke up, but Cherie left pretty quickly, right?
Pretty quickly, yeah, and also they probably just kind of, did take off very fast because it was, like, the first all-girl rock band that probably helped, and they're really good, like, Cherry Bomb is a really solid song. I need to listen to the rest of that first album. I think they're genuinely very good.
Before they get to the motel, Cherie was saying goodbye to her family, and her dad had dropped an alcohol bottle, which Joan picked up, and then once they're there, she pours the alcohol in a water gun. and is, like, shooting it into Cherie's mouth.
She's like compliments of your non-alcoholic father because like at a point earlier, Cherie had been like, "Yeah, my dad says that he's not an alcoholic. He just likes it, and that's the difference." And Joan is just like, "Yeah, sure, sure,
That's what they all say.
yeah."
While they're there, the movie's already been a little bit gay at this point, but Joan is, like, instructing one of the girls on jerking off in the shower.
It was
So it's
Cherie. She was instructing her on jerking off in the shower. They've been making eyes at each other like a little bit already, but she's literally just standing outside the bathroom and Cherie's like, I don't know if I'm like doing it right. Like I don't know, like whatever. And Joan is like, just think about like a boy you like and just go for it. And then she is like, I don't know, like, I don't know." And then Joan is like, "Well, what about, like, Farrah Fawcett? Do you like her?" And then Cherie's like, "Yeah, I do like her." And then she's like, "Oh, I kinda feel it. I feel something. I feel it going." And then you just kinda hear her, like, moaning and whatever. And then it flashes to Joan, like, outside the bathroom, and she just got, like, a smirk on her face.
Yeah, the movie's been gay already, but it really starts getting real gay at this point.
Real, real gay.
Oh, one of my favorite comments I saw on one of the interviews was that Kristen Stewart invented lesbians.
Kristen Stewart did invent lesbians. I'm not mad at that. I think that's about right.
Yeah, that gave me a chuckle.
Maybe Joan Jett invented lesbians,
Joan Jett probably invented lesbian.
but oh my god, I literally like, I don't know, it's so funny because, like I was saying, the timeline of this, guys, is really still, I don't think, at least not the final part of Breaking Dawn hadn't come out yet. Maybe the first one had, I'm not really exactly sure, but the final part definitely hadn't. Kristen and Robert were probably still together, I think, because I don't think they broke up until Snow White, which was after the Breaking Dawn part 2 aired. And Kristen just plays such a good lesbian in this movie. Like, did this maybe give you an inkling? I mean, obviously we don't know, and her journey is her journey, and none of us can ever know. But I'm just like, maybe this gave you like a little inkling of something.
Just a brief timeline of events for everyone. 2010, Runaways comes out. 2011, Breaking Dawn Part 1 comes out.
Oh, it was before part 1.
In 2012, Breaking Dawn Part 2 and Snow White and the Huntsman comes out.
Okay, so this was before, but not like more than like a couple of years before.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Interesting. I like, obviously we don't really know what goes on with these celebrities, but it's just like, I don't know. I'm just wondering how that went for them.
I wonder if there's an interview about it somewhere.
Oh, I bet we can find one.
Later, when they're in one of the hotels that they're staying in for their tour, so while they're on tour, they're in a hotel, and Joan and Sandy are practicing, and these two members from the headlining band come up and just start like giving them all this shit.
Isn't Joan singing?
I think so.
Yeah, I think, like, it's kind of funny because everybody gives her a ton of shit. She actually started trying to sing, like, before they found Cherie, and Kim Fowley was like, "No, we're not doing that." And then now these guys come in while Joan is singing, and, like, everybody just kinda, like, really makes her feel like she can't sing. She ended up singing with Joan Jett and the Blackhearts and does, like, freaking amazing. Where would we be without "I love rock and roll" or "I don't care about my reputation"? Like, I think that, like, everybody telling Joan Jett that she can't sing is wrong.
I think large majority of people would agree with you. Back then, I don't know, maybe they would've, but now I don't think anyone's gonna argue that Joan Jett can't sing, that'd be insane.
Yeah.
So obviously the girls are pissed, and then later they break into the headlining band's hotel room, and Joan pisses on one of the guitars.
Oh gosh, that was so funny. She was, like, falling over drunk, and then she just kinda pulls down her pants and pisses on the guitar, and then they hear somebody coming, and they're just, like, scream laughing, like, stumbling around, like, running out of the room. It's all very fun debauchery looking.
I agree, I think that was, to me, one of the most masculine things that happened in the whole movie, to, like, pee on something.
Ha ha. Yes. Good job, Joan. You show those boys that you don't care about your reputation.
Then not long after that, Joan and Cherie hook up, and then Cherie wakes up with roller skates on.
That like Joan and Cherie have very much at this point in the movie been making essentially Bella and Edward moony cow eyes at each other like for quite a while.
That's so accurate. And right after Cherie wakes up, Joan tells them that they landed a deal with Mercury Records.
I thought so. I thought so. I was just like, does that happen right now? I think it does, but I didn't
It
want
does
to.
happen.
But yeah, it's really funny actually when she kind of tells Cherie that they got signed. She's like, that fucker Kim Fowley, he's been like just telling us that we can get a record deal and he's been like saying that we could do this, blah, blah, blah. You think that she's about to say like fuck him, he was wrong, but then she just kind of looks at Cherie. She's like, and he was right. We got signed to Mercury Records.
I kind of hate that, like, a lot of high up people turn into assholes because I feel like people are like, it's justified that they're an asshole. And I'm like, I think you could, like, keep your talent and your skill that you've developed and not be an asshole.
And not be a dick.
Yeah, I know that here there's certain instances where they show that there was a method to his madness, but a lot of the time he's just kind of like a pig, which we haven't really discussed that much because, I mean, I think we just know, we are aware, but
No, he's very much a pig. Like, you can tell he's really high a lot of the time. He's, like, objectifying every woman in his vicinity, except for maybe Joan. It does seem like him and Joan have a good relationship, but he's a pig. He's the luckiest dog fucker in outer space, guys.
this is when they go on their Japan tour, and before they leave, Cherie is telling her sister Marie that she can't come, and she had told her when they went on the last tour that she could go, so Marie's pretty upset, obviously.
Yeah, Marie's, like, trying to find things she can do. She's like, "I can be your assistant, like, I can make everybody in the band handbags, like, I can do this and that." And Cherie's just like, like, "Nobody's really bringing their family, like, it would be weird," just starts kinda, like, giving her all the excuses.
That part made me kinda sad, honestly, because I feel
Me
like,
too!
Marie
Oh.
wants to do cool shit like her sister's doing and hang out with her.
And Cherie's just like, "Sorry, no," like, but also it's like you have seen at this point that Cherie's already starting to get into the drugs. I think that this already happened where she's, like, really kinda out of it walking around, like, I think it's backstage at one of the events or maybe through a couple of days while they're touring, and my boyfriend was like, "What is she doing?" And I was really unsure, but then I think, and my boyfriend also thinks, that she was probably doing Quaaludes, which were discontinued in
Oh.
the '90s. I've never done them. I mean, obviously, I'm not a hard drug user, but obviously, Quaaludes are not something that anybody that's probably listening to this podcast will have any kind of experience with. But they seem like they were wild.
Apparently Hugh Hefner had a stockpile of Quaaludes.
Yeah, I heard that too. Because it was like a big date rape drug, like before GHB and stuff.
I'm not gonna derail about Holly Madison, I'm gonna stay on track.
That is, like a whole can of worms. We might do some Holly Madison. We might read her book.
I am obsessed with her. I love her, and I love Bridget, I love Kendra, and, yes, I will restrain myself, and I will stay focused on the task at hand.
Yeah, we'll save it for the book because I think we are gonna probably read the book at some point and try and find a way to connect it into what we're doing, but we both just really want to read down the rabbit hole, so we might cover that at some point.
Yes, 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 and when Nichole says what we're doing, we're referring to the greater Twilight extended universe, which is when someone who is involved in Twilight works on any other project, basically.
Such as this, the Runaways, guys. The Runaways are now in the greater Twilight extended universe, like the whole band, because Kristen has been in this movie.
Exactly.
We are so unhinged.
It's okay, that's why we're fun.
Exactly.
Oh, okay, so Cherie ends up having this Japanese photographer come to her house because Fowley calls her and is like, be ready in 20 minutes. And by the way, your sound isn't actually that important. We care more about guys being able to fantasize fucking you, so we're gonna send this photographer to your house so we can put you in a magazine later.
Yeah, also Kim Fowley doesn't really tell her what's going on. Like, that's kind of important for later, is that he says that they're gonna go and shoot all the other girls later, that they're just gonna come and get some singular shots of her. But at this point, she really does think that this is gonna be an article about the whole band, not just her.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that he, lied about that.
He fully lies. He's definitely says, "We're going to shoot the other girls later."
And I don't think Cherie even thinks it's that big of a deal. It's just like someone
No.
coming to her house and taking pictures, which in itself doesn't, for a rock and roller probably is like, okay, sure, I'm getting my picture taken. Whatever.
Yeah. And also she's, like, still very new to this, and it has the, Japanese photographer kind of taking pictures of her. She's in, like, a little lingerie outfit, like, kind of writhing around out she's, like, outside of her house, right?
That's like her backyard.
Maybe yeah, she's, like, in her back or front yard kind of writhing around and stuff. I thought it was really funny because towards the end of the photo shoot, either her grandma or somebody's grandma comes out and starts, like, hitting the photographer
I
with
think
her
it was
cane,
her grandma. Yeah.
and she's just like, "Grandma, he's here to take pictures of me, like, it's fine."
And while he's getting beaten, he's still trying to take pictures. He's just, like, dealing with it.
Oh, that's amazing.
He's there to do his job, okay? Then their girls fly to Japan, and while they're in the plane, Fowley's like, "If you have any drugs, get rid of them." So Joan and Cherie go in the bathroom to get rid of their drugs because Japan does not play about drugs.
No, they do not. They absolutely do not. If anybody has ever seen oh my gosh, what's that reality show called? Like, Imprisoned in Another Country or something? It's literally, like, about people who basically get arrested in other countries and then have to be in jail there. Every single one about Japan is people, like, bringing just the tiniest smidge of pot into the country.
Oh my god, I know. Japan is really crazy about it. I don't know the exact stuff because I don't know a lot about the Japan law, but I think you can get, like, 5 to 10 years for just, like, having weed on you.
For, like, anything, yeah, Japan does not play around. But, yeah, they have a bunch of and I don't even think they have weed, they have, like, a bunch of coke and probably Quaaludes.
I feel like weed is, like, the lesser of the drugs, so I feel like if you're gonna get 10 years for having weed on you, like, you really need to get rid of your hard drugs before you get there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So they're in the plain bathroom just, like, snorting shit. I mean, it looks debaucherous and ever so much fun. I do want to say, guys, that while I am saying all of this looks really fun, I'm not a hard drug user. I don't use hard drugs. I just think it looks really fun.
I guess that's why people get attracted to the rock and roll lifestyle and how
Yeah,
they
I
get
think
into doing that stuff and get addicted and everything.
because it looks so fun. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's supposed to look fun, and then that's why we need to have, like, educational shit on, like, "Hey, this could ruin your life if you get too far into it, so be careful."
It absolutely can, kids. Don't do drugs, but also it does look fun.
That's gonna come back around in this movie.
Yes, it will.
When they get there, they're getting absolutely swarmed by the media, and I personally didn't realize that the Runaways were bigger in Japan than they were in the United States. I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's like I think a lot of bands kind of have this thing happen to them where Asian markets really love American bands. So yeah, when they get off the plane, they're being swarmed by all the people, all the cute little Japanese girls are going, "Chatty, chatty, chatty." I thought that was really cute. Yeah, they look like they're having a good time, but they also look they are kind of flabbergasted by just the size and, like, amount and passion of these massive crowds that they're attracting.
There's even a part where the fans are up against this glass pane that connects to their dressing room, and it ends up breaking because the people are just pushing on it so much, and they storm into the dressing room to get to the girls.
Yeah, it looked really scary.
It did.
They literally break the glass. The crowd is just banging on the glass, and they literally break the glass. It actually looked terrifying.
It really did, and this is when you can really tell that Cherie is kinda starting to get out of it, like, she puts on this little, like, bustier corset thingy, um, and, like, these thigh-high stockings, and is, like, asking Joan what she thinks of it, and Joan's like, "You just need a porn star name," or something like that.
She says very sarcastically, "You look like a porn star, you just need a name now."
Yeah, that's what it was, and then she ends up wearing it on stage, and there's a guy in some of these scenes where she's wearing this outfit in, like, an elevator in a room. Is she hooking up with this guy? Who is he? Where did he come from?
That's the roadie. He's been their roadie, like, the entire time. He was, like, on their American tour too, and I think that he's been hooking up with I do agree, I think that he has hooked up with Cherie, but I think he's also hooking up with other members of the band. He has
Okay, that wouldn't surprise me. They just make it very strange because there's a scene where he's in the room and then Cherie's there wearing the skimpy outfit, and then there's another one of them later in, I think, an elevator together, and I was like, "Who is this? Where did he come from?"
Yeah, that's the roadie. Now he's gross. Like, in today's actual estimation of men and their worth, that man is very, very gross, but I bet that he was having a fucking blast roadieing for this all-girl rock group and fucking all of them.
Jeez.
Except for Joan, because she's a lesbian.
I think Joan and Cherie's relationship wasn't really established that much either. It's like they made their cow eyes at each other and they hooked up, but then we don't get a whole lot of like their personal relationship or like how they feel towards each other, like not just romantically, but like how much they care about each other or like if they don't like each other. Like we kind of just don't get a lot of it. We just get that
You
they're attracted to each other and they play in a band together, and then later Joan's gonna, like, stick up for Cherie and stuff, so we can tell that Joan cares about her more than the other band members, but there's just not that much there in this movie.
Yeah, they're hooking up and stuff, and you can kind of like Giu said, eventually Joan will kind of stand up for Cherie in a way where you can tell that Joan really cares about her, but it's not really, like, focused on, like, their personal, like, feelings so much or anything, that you do kind of get the impression that of the entire group of girls in the band, Joan and Cherie are the closest, and they obviously do care about each other, but I think that just with all the drugs and all the crazy shit going on, that it's not really, like, the thing that's being focused on by anybody, even them.
I think that's true, but I think it also loops back around to the same thing I complained about earlier where it's like, we don't really know what any of the band members' relationships are with each other.
You definitely do kind of see towards the end of the movie, though, that Joan does really deeply care about Cherie.
That's true. Around this time is when the band sees the magazine that Cherie was in. She did not know that she was published in a magazine, but the pictures she took in the backyard were published, and she was like, "Well, what was I supposed to say?" And Joan was like, "No."
Know that you have other bandmates. It's really funny, kind of this interaction, because Joan gets really mad because the whole kind of article and all the pictures are all Cherie, like, dancing around in her little skimpy outfit, the little lingerie she was wearing for the photographer. And Joan is like, focus on the music, not on your crotch.
Yeah, Joan really wants it to be about the music and not about their looks.
Sex appeal.
When they're back home, you can tell Cherie's drug use is escalating because there's a scene where she steals her dad's prescription and Marie sees it and just doesn't say anything. Like, she
Yeah.
sees
Well,
her and Cherie walks by her, so, like, she knows that she knows.
yeah. And also, kind of the beginning of the dad really getting sick was definitely when they left for the tour, and the vodka bottle rolled out and Joan, like, picked it up and stuff, and that's when you could kinda tell that something's really going wrong with the dad health-wise. But then while they're in Japan, actually, and this is in the middle of Cherie, like, really having, like, some really trippy times with the drugs and everything, because while they're in Japan, she gets a call, and it's Marie on the other end of the line being like, "Dad's sick, you have to come home." And Cherie just kinda responds, "I don't have a home. Do you?" And, like, hangs up the
Yeah.
phone. Like, and she's out of it. Very, very much. I don't know what exactly she's on, but she is strung out. Just can't really doesn't have a really good grip on reality, which is why I don't even think she knew so much that her sister was calling. So then when they get back from Japan, the dad is really, really sick. Cherie goes and kind of tries to like rebond with Marie and is like brings her like a bag with her name on it. And she's like, I have a matching one. It's just me and you. Like, not the other girls have them. It's like just a you and me thing. And they kind of reconcile. And then Marie's like, Dad's been really like waiting for you to get back. He has a folder full of like all of your press clippings. And Cherie is really nervous about going in to see him because I think she kind of feels like she just walked off with all of this happening, which she kind of did a little bit. But the dad is really excited to see her. But then, exactly like Giu said, she's so in the throes of her drug problem at this point that even though she's like coming and seeing her very much ailing father for the very first time since she's been back, she steals his prescription.
Yeah, it's really sad. I think Marie kinda knows there's not a lot she can do too because Cherie walks right by her and Marie just lets her go.
Yeah.
Later when they're practicing, Cherie's reading a magazine where Fally says that Cherie should hang herself because of her ego, and this leads to, like, this huge fight while they're recording.
They're recording in a studio at this point, right? This is like their first studio recording.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so she's kind of got the magazine, she's on a bit of an ego trip, and Kim Fowley's like, "Yeah, you get in the booth, practice, get in the booth." And Cherie, I think she just decides that she's done. She's like, "I don't fucking wanna do this. I don't want you to be telling me what to do. I'm having a lot of issues with what's going on. I don't feel good." You can tell that she really is just internally not feeling very good because it's like I think the drugs are happening and getting to her. She's in the throes of like a really severe addiction, and she just gets told what to do by Kim Fowley, and she doesn't feel like she has any control over anything. You know, it's kind of done.
Yeah, it's not super apparent here, like, it sounds like she just got fed up, but I felt like her having an ego and everything wasn't apparent at all, like, we don't even have any sense if that's real.
No, it's kind of just what Kim Fowley has made her into because he very much wants her to be the sex kitten front runner of the whole thing. He's like, "You are gonna wear the skimpy outfits and do the skimpy dance, and you're gonna do what I say, and you're gonna when I fucking say jump, you're gonna say how the fuck high."
But even the other band members are, like, getting pissed at her, and they're like, "Yeah, it's, like, just the Cherie Currie band," but I didn't feel like we got any sense of her getting any sort of ego or anything.
Because I think it's Kim Fowley, like, he's the one that orchestrated that photo shoot, he's kind of been pulling the strings on, like, a lot of this, and she decides that she does not like what is being portrayed, because I kind of agree, you don't really get a huge sense that she has this massive ego and she wants to be the best and the most sexiest and stuff. She's just strung the fuck out on drugs, she doesn't know what's going on. That her manager, that Kim Fowley, manipulated her into that whole photo shoot thing, which made all the other band members angry at her. And then he's just ordering her around, and nobody's standing up for her at all.
Except for Joan. Joan is like, "Guys, chill the fuck out."
Yeah, Joan does try. Joan very much in this scene, like, tries to get the other girls to leave her alone and also tries to get Kim Fowley to leave her alone. And it's just like, back up off of her. But it doesn't really work. Everybody's just kind of on her, and then she's like, "Fuck y'all, fuck this. You get in the fucking booth." I think that's what she said to Kim Fowley.
Yeah. So she ends up storming out, and the movie portrays this as if the band is broken up at this point. In real life, the band did continue for a bit longer and eventually disbanded, but I think a
Yeah.
lot of people didn't even know that the band continued after Cherie left, so I think it's fairly accurate portrayal.
Yeah. They have a few more albums. I think they get, like, another lead singer in there. They don't let Joan do it, I don't think, but they get, like, another girl in there and stuff and just try to continue. It says at the end of the movie that Joan did stay with the band for 2 years after that before she left, but I can't say anything that the Runaways did after that first album. So, it's just not well known, I don't think people care.
Especially when a singer leaves. Joan is in the next scene at a party, and one of her friends says, "Everyone remembers the singer," which I think is true, and then in the movie, that's what sparks her to form her own band. But it is true, like, the singer left, and then people kind of weren't paying attention as much anymore.
It's funny, when she's at a party, are you talking about, like, the lesbian orgy party that she's at?
Yeah.
I love the lesbian orgy party. I was like, "This is a vibe. I would like to go to here. Thank you."
But something someone says at that party, according to this, is what pushes her to start her own band. So she does stay with the band for a while, but then, as we all know, she goes on to sing in her own band.
Bigger and better things, yes, but, yeah, we do have the scene of somebody saying, like, everybody remembers the singer. You can tell that really sticks in her mind, in Joan's mind.
And then we get some post-band footage of Cherie trying to buy vodka at a grocery store. I just feel like vodka is like that's what you drink when you're an alcoholic. If you're drinking vodka in the middle of the day, you're probably an alcoholic.
Yeah, and it's crazy because she literally gets 2 onions and a bottle of vodka and puts them on the counter, and she's in this store, she can't walk straight, she has a cart, she can barely fucking walk straight, and she's wearing, like, a gold sparkly tube top and I think leather or something, very shiny red bell bottoms, and she looks fucking crazy.
Yeah, she can barely even walk.
Absolutely crazy. Yeah, and then she puts the 2 onions and the bottle of vodka on the counter, and the girl's like, "I can't sell this to you," and then she's just like, get your manager," whatever, and this, like, older guy comes over, and he's like, "Yeah, we can't sell this to you, you're obviously underage," and she's like, "I'm gonna get you fired like that," and she, like, goes to try and snap, and she, like, can't even put her fingers together. She's very messed up.
Yeah, and then she goes outside and staggers to a payphone and calls.
Marie. Yeah, she calls Marie. She calls Marie to be like, "Oh, pick me up," and Marie's like, "I'm fucking working. I can't pick you up." And then it's just like her passed out in the phone booth. You
Yeah.
can really tell that like after she leaves the band, she's going through it. She's still in the throes of her addiction.
Yeah, and then I don't know where she is at the end. I was like, "Is this a treatment facility? Where are they?" But
She's
she's
working in a
talking to
bakery.
no, before that when she's talking to Marie on the bench.
Oh yeah, I have no idea. I don't know where that was. I don't know if it was a treatment facility or what.
It looked like it could be because it looked like there was people dressed like nurses walking in the background, but they don't explain it. Cherie is just there and Marie's there and they're talking and she's Marie's like, "Oh, you should like call mom," and it's been a year, you haven't talked to her in a year, you should call her, and she's trying to make amends with her family.
Yeah, and she's like, Mom tells everybody in Indonesia that you're her daughter." And Cherie just kinda, like, looks at Marie and says, "I'm sure she tells them that she's my mother," indicating that even though, there's a lot going on and stuff, their family is messed up. Like, the mom is not great, and even still, even with everything that's happened, it's like, Cherie's not her daughter, the mother is Cherie Currie's mother.
Yeah, she's really only thinking about herself, but Marie's, like, trying to encourage her to reconnect with the family regardless.
Yeah.
And then at the end, we do get Cherie working in the bakery, and the radio's on, and she's listening to I Love Rock and Roll, and she ends up calling the radio station because Joan's there.
First hit by Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, and apparently she had to shop it to 23 record labels before somebody would pick her up. And I still don't understand. I will never understand. Like, Joan Jett is such a consummate rock goddess that I
Especially
don't see
since she
why.
was already in a successful band, you'd think
It
that people would have jumped.
Exactly, exactly, like, give her a shot, guys, and she turned out to be amazing, of course, and we got I Love Rock and Roll, we got, I Don't Give a Damn About My Reputation, we got, like, all the other fantastic songs from Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. We even eventually get Joan Jett and Miley Cyrus. That came out just a couple of years ago. But like, if Joan Jett had been dissuaded from the music industry by being rejected from 23 different labels, we would have never gotten any of that.
That's probably the best thing that ever happened to her because she ended up making her own label and, like, releasing the album herself.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, thank God she did. Thank God nobody can fucking tell her anything.
I know, she's great.
I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about her, honestly, I love
Oh,
her.
yeah, she's awesome. And when Cherie's on the phone, when she calls into the radio station, she says she's trying to do the acting thing and just wanted to say hi to Joan, and then the movie closes and kinda just reflects on the impact that the Runaways had on the music industry.
Yeah, it closes, it's very cute. Their phone conversation is a little awkward at the, on the radio station, and then that's it, that's the end of the movie, and it kind of gives you a little bit of a, where are they now with Cherie Currie and Joan Jett, and Cherie Currie, guys, like, worked as a drug counselor for troubled teens for a long time because of the struggle she went through, which I thought was very wholesome and cute. The thing that I think is the coolest, though, is apparently she's a freaking chainsaw artist now.
That was crazy because that's such a out there hobby to have, it's really fucking cool, but
Yeah,
I wanna know how she got into that, like, what inspired you
same,
to start doing that?
same, and I am definitely gonna look up some of her chainsaw art and have somebody describe it to me because I bet it's freaking cool.
Oh my god, I bet. I feel like they sold her short a little bit too, because she did do a bunch of other stuff after The Runaways, like, she had a band with her sister, she was in, like, multiple movies, she made music.
Yeah, Cherie and Marie.
Yeah, Cherie and Marie, and then, she wrote a book, like, I feel like they sold her short a little bit at the end, it kind of made it seem like she left the band, and just because she couldn't handle the pressure, and then she just kinda did nothing with her life, and I just don't think that that's entirely accurate.
Yeah, and it didn't say she did nothing. It said that she worked with teenagers and but it did say that she continued to struggle with drugs. I really feel like the perspective of this movie is definitely leans a little bit more towards Joan's perspective, which I guess makes sense because Joan Jett was actually a producer on this movie and very involved. But it definitely like skews a little bit to how cool she is and we don't really get any of the rest of the band, and even the information that we get about Cherie, I agree with Giu, they do sell her short just a little bit, I think.
I think so, and then in an interview, Cherie said that she was so involved with the drugs that it just got to this point where, like, she knew she wasn't gonna live that long, but when it got to that point, she had this moment where she, like, kinda knew she had to stop, and then that's why she left, whereas I felt like this made it a little bit more about the pressure, like, obviously, they talked a lot about how she was getting involved with drugs, but it almost made it like a side thing, like, it doesn't sound like that's the reason why she left, but in an interview, it sounded like the drugs were the reason she left.
I actually kind of feel like I do feel like it definitely was about the pressure and stuff too. But I kind of feel like it kind of felt to me a little bit equally. It's like she's under a lot of pressure, but it's like the drugs are really getting bad. I think it was that scene in the store where she wasn't really walking straight and she was wearing like the gold shiny top and the
That
onions.
made sense, but that was after she left. So it made it seem like, oh, she couldn't handle the pressure and left the band and just kept doing drugs.
I kind of saw it more as she got out of the band, but she's still doing the drugs. Like it's like I kind of felt like that was meant to sort of exemplify that like that was a problem that was still really present and prevalent in her life. I don't know. I think it all just is like kind of the perspective from which you watch the movie, but I definitely agree with you that it definitely felt a little bit more like it was the pressure than the drugs, but I felt like the drugs were a really, really big part of it. So I think it just kind of depends on the lens you watch the movie from.
Well, that's the end.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It has the little "Where are they now?" with Joan Jett and Cherie Currie, talks about, like, a few little things, and then it obviously talks about how Joan Jett went on to form Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, and, became the absolute freaking rock goddess that we all know and love. At least I know and fucking love. I love her so
Everybody
much.
loves Joan Jett, how could you not?
Just she's so cool.
I wish that they had little blurbs about the other band members at the end, even though we didn't see that much of them. I personally would have enjoyed that.
No, I agree. I actually completely agree with you. I was like, what about the other 3 of them? Like, what
Yeah,
about
once
the
it
other 3 girls?
yeah, it had blurbs about Cherie, Joan, and Kim, and then it just ended, and I was like, "Wait, is that actually the end?" Like, not even Sandy, who was, like, in the movie.
And was, like, the one that was more introduced, yeah, but it was just fucking Kim Fowley, the creep. Apparently, he has dyed his hair green and can still be seen walking up and down Sunset as, like, an old man now.
Yeah, I was like, "I don't really care what he's doing, to be honest." I think people
Literally,
really liked him in this movie and thought he was really funny, and he did have his moments, but I'm like, overall, I just kind of
fuck
found
him.
him gross. Yeah.
Overall, fuck him. Fuck Kim Fowley. I was like not a fan. I do agree with you. He had some funny moments and that was good, but I did not like his character.
I didn't either, and I mean, if that's what he's like, then he should be portrayed that way, but I watched a couple, like, video reviews of people talking about it, and the consensus seems to be that people, like, love that actor, and obviously the actor has nothing to do with the manager, but they're like, "Oh, he, like, stole the show," and maybe he did, but people seem to, like, love him and think he was funny, but I kinda just felt uncomfortable most of the time when he was
Every
on
time.
screen. And I
Mhm.
thought that that was the point. I don't think the actor did a bad job, I think he did a phenomenal job, but I thought that the point was to make me feel uncomfortable, but other people didn't have that same reaction.
Yeah, I think the point was for him to play a really excellent fucking creep, which he did, but he was a fucking creep. And I personally thought that Kristen Stewart as Joan Jett stole the show. Like, I was like,
Oh,
you
yeah.
are fucking immaculately like I obviously don't know Joan Jett, guys, but I just am like, Kristen Stewart is so cool in this movie. Like, she's so cool in this movie.
That's so true. I agree that I think she stole the show. I think I was a little surprised at how much it was about Cherie just because Kristen had such a presence in the movie.
Oh my god, her presence as Joan Jett, she just did phenomenally, and I can't believe that it took me until watching Spencer to realize, like, what a good fucking actress she is. I really think that I attributed all of it to just maybe them being a little bit similar, like Kristen Stewart and Joan Jett, about how well she portrayed Joan Jett in this movie, but I think that it's just that Kristen Stewart is an immaculate actress.
Yeah, I think we were all, especially back in the day, sleeping on Kristen and Robert Pattinson because I think you just associate them with Twilight and you're like, "Yep, they suck. Why would I ever watch anything with them again?" And that's it. Or most people never even saw those movies and just associated them with something they hated and just wrote it off completely, and that was the wrong move.
It really was. I think that you and I in our recording that we did yesterday said that it is a problem with the source material, guys, not the actors, not the story. It's the source material. It's Twilight.
Standing by it.
Twilight is the
Standing
problem.
by that 1000%.
Twilight is like, "Hi, it's me. I'm the problem. It's Twilight."
Should we do our rating?
Yeah, let's do the rating. Okay, so enjoyability. I fucking love this movie. I've loved this movie since the first time I saw it in 2010 in theaters. I just think it's so fun. I love the vibe. I think I would have done really well in the 70s, guys. I would have been like a debauched teenager in the 70s. Sadly, that was not my lot in life. I'm born now, which honestly is probably better for a lot of other things. But I feel like just growing up during that time would have been amazing, and I just love the whole vibe, the David Bowie of it all, the rock of it all, the kinda, like, grungy sparkliness of it all, I'm obsessed with, and I'm gonna give this movie a 5 out of 5 on the enjoyability scale.
Wow, you love this movie.
I really do actually love this movie, like, a lot.
Alright, I don't have the nostalgia lens. I like this movie a lot. I do wanna go listen to, like, all their music now. I really liked the fashion, which I somehow made it this far into the podcast without mentioning. I love a good costume design and a funky haircut. I have a funky '80s haircut right now, and I might go get a funky '70s haircut now after watching it.
Yeah, this movie has both of those things in spades.
But I thought that some of the storytelling fell short in some places, and maybe there's just only so much you can cram into a movie, but that killed it a little bit for me. I found some of the storylines a little hard to follow, and I had to go and read about it afterwards a little bit to like I wouldn't have known that the Runaways even continued being a band after that. I would have had no clue. So that hurt the enjoyability for me. I'd probably give it like a 3.5, but I really liked it and I think it's worth watching.
I feel like that's fair though, you know, and I definitely do have like the nostalgia glasses on with this movie just cuz I did see it like as a teenager and I have such fond memories of it from back then. But I kind of get what you're saying. I do think that maybe some of the storytelling wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. I will say I thought this movie was really well paced. It goes very fast. It doesn't drag.
Oh, that's true. At no point was I waiting for the movie to be over or wondering how much I had left. I just enjoyed it the whole way through.
Yeah, yeah, so that is very good, but I can agree with you maybe on, like, some minor, story issues and things. I think that 3.5 is a fair rating.
Yeah, I think so. I think, it's not a bad rating. I liked it. I liked the movie, and I would watch it again, and I'm gonna go listen to some of the music after this.
And that's the really important part, and I love that for you, actually, because this is oh my gosh, like, I really like music from this era. I like a lot of different kinds of music, but this is, like, a real vibe for me.
It really is. I when I was a kid, I was actually obsessed with the song I Love Rock and Roll. I didn't know anything about Joan Jett, but I really liked that song for some reason,
It's
so
a really good song.
yeah, it is a good song. The Twilight rating, how comparable to Twilight is this movie?
Very minimally comparable to Twilight,
I
I think. I honestly, it doesn't even have the mistiness going for it. And that's been like the one thing that I've been comparing recently is just things being misty and that being like Twilight.
The setting, that's relevant to Twilight.
It is. I agree. You know what about though, all of the Cullens were alive during this, canonically. Like they're all out there being
Oh
vampires
my god.
somewhere.
Yeah, they are.
I don't think that that, like, makes it similar to Twilight, though, so I'm going to give this honestly, I'm gonna give it probably, like Bella and Joan are just completely opposite characters. I just don't think it's very Twilighty. I think I'm gonna have to give it a 0.
I agree, I'm gonna have to give it a really solid 0. However, you just gave me an idea for a fan fiction. Hear me out. Alice discovering her lesbianism in the '70s through Joan Jett.
Oh my fucking god, that's actually an incredible idea, and write that down, please.
I will write it down. Oh my god. I love Alice, and I love Joan Jett, and,
Alice would be so cool in these clothes.
oh my god, someone draw that, please. I can't draw, but somebody who has talent, do it.
I can't draw, but somebody please draw it, and then Giu will explain it to me.
But, yeah, solid 0, nothing like Twilight, but
No, no, not even in the atmosphere of the mist.
nope.
But yeah, that was it. That's the Runaways, guys. Like I said, I really love this movie. So thank you, Giu, for letting us cover this. I know that it's not necessarily it didn't have audio description, which we've been trying to like find for most of the movies we've been watching. Just in case anybody is curious, I'm the one that needs audio description of the two of us. It really helps me out because I obviously am blind and I can't visually watch these movies, although I did visually watch this movie back in high school before I lost my sight. So I think that was why I really wanted to revisit it. So I appreciate you for letting me add this to the roster.
Yeah, of course. I don't mind doing stuff without audio description. It honestly, even if you're sighted, audio description is great for two things. One, you're going to experience a movie you love in a different way. You can consume it in a way you haven't experienced before. And then second of all, I take the notes when we do the podcast, so if I have to look away to like write something down, I don't miss anything.
Yeah.
I think that the people in general need to appreciate audio description more.
I think so too, and honestly, I everybody who I have ever showed a movie with audio description to has enjoyed it because they always make the comment that it kind of points out the things that the director wants you to see in the movie.
That's so true. That's how, if you had listened to our Twilight podcast, the audio description is how I knew that Bella was holding a cactus because my brain just blocked it out. But the audio description pointed it out. And I was like, oh my God, she is holding a cactus when she
And
gets on the plane.
that was so memeable, so perfect. So it's like, yeah, that really does make it a little bit more enjoyable for me. Usually I did just like have my boyfriend completely give me the in real time audio description while we were watching, but I have a lot of very clear memories of this movie from when I did see it. So it was just a refresher for me and I had a lot of fun.
Good. I thought of a third thing you cited people can use this for. If when you're going to sleep and you want to turn the TV on and you want to watch a movie, but you kind of maybe don't know what's going on, turn on the audio description and close your eyes and go to sleep.
Yeah, you can experience movies like I do.
Yep, exactly.
But anyways, guys, yeah, so I'm really glad we watched it and thank you again for letting me put this on the list. And if anybody has any comments, please leave a comment on YouTube or a rating if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, and you'll hear from us again soon.
Yeah, let us know what you'd like to cover and maybe it'll be in our next podcast. Bye, everybody.
Bye.